CD Projekt Red, sold over 1 million copies of that game on the Nintendo Switch. In addition to that, they came out with DLC content and also patch fixes for a lot of games. So although you might be saying it run terrible, maybe to your standard, maybe you are custom running games at 200p, right? However, that game has been loved and supported. We are not seeing that it's a bad player rating on the game. Persons are still enjoying that game who bought it on the Nintendo Switch. Hence the reason the 1 million sale count.
Yeah, Pastor, you cannot say just because people buy this game, it does not run terribly. Fallout 4 runs terribly. However, lots of people bought the game. So that argument does not stand at all.
What is, in your opinion, what is the...
1 second.
Yeah.
Just because you buy a game on a platform doesn't mean the game runs well. We have
examples
of this. We have Fallout 4. We have other games. Horizon Forbidden West ran terribly at launch. Like there were some graphical glitches. Like and they patched it and it started running better. However, on the Wii, it still drops frames all the way to like 20-something frames per second or 20 frames per second. Just because people
on the Wii,
there's not other world playing Witcher.
Welcome back, Rios. We had a little issue.
You mean the Switch? You mean the
bad weather here in
Southern Connecticut. I want to know what the Witcher is on the Wii.
Yeah, it's on the Wii. That's what you said.
No, it's on
the Witcher is on the Wii.
I mean, on the Switch. So.
Oh man.
Yes, just because people buy a product doesn't mean that product runs well. People might just like that product. That's it.
I mean, people wanted to play Witcher on the go at the time.
Exactly.
That was the
only
option.
In your opinion, what is the threshold for a game running, let's say, terrible? In your opinion.
For me, for this generation, based on platforms. For instance, Xbox Series S is touted to be a 1080p to 1440.
No.
Yeah, I'm explaining it to you.
So, I am talking generally. No, but that's not. I am talking generally because you quoted some games.
Console, though.
You quoted Horizon. You quoted generally. Generally, what is a game that is not playing well?
For me, a game that drops frames from 60 all the way to 40, and it's around based on platforms. For instance, if I had a PS5 and I'm running the game at 60 frames per second, I expect the resolution to be at least 1440p. Do not drop frames. It needs to be at that standard resolution. If I had an Xbox Series X, I have the same requirements. Now, if I had an Xbox Series S, I would go probably 1080p, 60 frames per second. If it drops less than that, it's running terribly.
Right. Okay, all right. Interesting. I'm sure most likely you would have played a number of PlayStation games, a number of Xbox games. Yeah? I'm sure.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Have you ever played any game that was under 40 to completion? Because I know there's a number of games, and let's say in the PlayStation 4 generation, a console that run, I have. So you played the game despite it was running terribly?
No, because of what happens is every generation you have new standards for those systems. For instance, PS4 generation, we can't get at 60 frames per second. This is why we can't get 60 frames per second, because the CPU, the Jaguar cores are not powerful to run.
Yeah, but didn't Sony tout the PlayStation 4 as a 60 frame per console?
You're just proving my point. You're literally just proving my point. That I'm saying the reason why is because PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, 3 and 4 were touted to be 30 frames, but mostly it's going to be 30 frames that you will get for most games, and you get 1080p.
Yeah, but it was not. They did not sell that console as a 30 frame box.
Okay, yes, but what it can achieve is 30 frames and 720p for PS3 and 1080p for PS4. So that's what you are the
first person I heard who ever said that the industry standard for the PS4 generation of console was 30 frames.
It was always 30.
I remember very distinctly that when the PlayStation 4 was released, that they said this console would be a 60 frame per second console. I remember them saying that. Right? But yet when they said that, you were happy to play games on that very set console that they touted that it would run 60 frames. You were happy to play games at 30.
No, I told you. Please, again, I would
See what you started, Levon? See this? You started this.
You have to, again, I will repeat this. When you play games, you get on the platform that you want. So, for instance, on a Switch, I am not going to expect 60 frames per second. They might say 60 frames per second, but I know for a fact those games are going to be 30 frames per second, right? On a Switch, because I know it's not powerful enough to handle 60
So doesn't Mario Kart run at 60 frames per second?
Because they have one game that does it. Doesn't mean most games will do it.
There's only one game on
Nintendo
Nintendo
games.
Switch
I can see
runs at
Nintendo.
60 frames per second.
I'm giving a general outlook. If you have a minority of games that run 60 frames per second on the Switch,
Right.
and majority runs at 30 frames per second, then that platform is a 30 frames per second platform because most games run.
Okay, fair enough.
Now, can we agree now to finish the argument or the debate or the quarrel here? We agree that the Xbox Series S is not holding back this generation, and it is to the developers, I guess, prerogative to make it run like it does on the PlayStation. We all know, and it's not to make an excuse for Xbox. We heard about this whole tool thing, and it's not easy to develop for the Xbox. Development for the Xbox Series S and X are different than it was for the Xbox One and One X, the last generation.
Yeah.
That is a fact. So, look, I don't know if that's part of it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Look, let's be honest here. Does the game run bad enough to where we can't figure out how to play the game? Is it noticeable enough to you say, you know what, enough of this trash, I want my money back? Because if that was the case, wouldn't a lot of people just be uninstalling these games saying, hey, you know what?
Ricky,
That's the
Ricky.
case.
Ricky, I played Perfect Dark when I was in my teens. That game used to drop to like 10 frames per second. And I'll tell you something. That was some of the most fun times I ever had playing video games.
Man, I remember them 8-bit Nintendo joints used to freeze when we get far in the level. That used like Ninja Gaiden didn't have a save option back on the 8-bit Nintendo. And I remember we got real far. Me and my cousin was playing, and we were playing for so long it got hot, and the damn thing said "Dip," and the game just stopped, bro. I'm like, oh.
Let me try to like just piggyback on that. Would you say that's because of you being young and you being ignorant to the concept of frames that you were able to enjoy that experience?
I'm gonna be honest with you. Matter of fact, Loki, go ahead, you go, and I'll answer you after that.
I'm just saying, I would agree with that. It's just relative, it's relative to your time. As technology has gotten better, our expectations and the more we've spent monetarily on it has increased. So we all right, it was good for that timing, but now we have an expectation based on what they've told us, what they show us, and what we paying for. So I understand appreciating the retro stuff, but yeah, as far as these games, talking about the old Mario games, then yeah, you gonna expect some some to freeze every once in a while. But
yeah, I mean, well, you know what, it is different, kind of low key. Back then, my mother was buying my shit, so it didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It didn't matter. But shout out to Brierios, says Series X got the code for the lowest console, then Port Up S is holding back Hellblade 2, Evolved, and Perfect Dark. Well, here's what I've say. Those games shouldn't be holding back the Series S, because last time I checked, that dude with that long-ass beard, he's sitting up here and he's telling you how great his technology is, and he's the architect of the world's most powerful console. When it comes to Xbox first party, I don't want to hear it. You designed that Series S for a reason. Listen, first of all, the Series S is going to be like $100 next Christmas. So, they're trying to get you in you know why they're doing that too, is because they're going to stop making games for the Xbox One and the One X. That's done. They're not doing that no more. Matter of fact, I believe Starfield, Forza, and Redfall are the first games that are going to be for the S and X only. So, hey, look, I think it's me personally. I don't worry about frames and all of that stuff. I'm more of a mod type guy. That's why I bought the PC that I bought. It's because I want to play mods. I want to play as Donald Duck in Resident Evil. You know, I want some of those nude mods where I can go and play around and stuff like that. That's what I want to do. I want to do certain things that I can't do on console that I can do on my PC. And even if it means spending extra money, I don't care. However, I don't sit here and count frames, so that don't mean nothing to me. But here's what we can complain as Xbox guys is if our first party games aren't 4K 60 or something like that. All right, third party stuff, Merry Christmas. It is what it is. But if Hellblade comes out, Starfield comes out, and you can't get 4K 60 on that, and you're having issues with it, then I think we can come and start knocking on the door saying, yo, we need better. You know, this is a problem. But, hey, listen, and then this is a detriment to Xbox, sort of. We haven't had a first-party game that's really next-gen only to compare it to. We got the first one coming here in May.
Well, there's Flight Sim. There was that.
But that can be played. You're right. That is next-gen for only the Series X and X. You can play through the cloud on your old Xbox. But
yeah,
you know, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, we'll see what it is, bro. I mean, I'm not gonna say nothing, and I'm not gonna get mad about it because there's nothing to get mad at right now. If I'm gonna be mad, it'll be mad after Redfall comes. If Redfall comes in and it's not 4K 60, then we can start complaining. So
the only reason why like this is being brought up was because I've said this for a long time, even me being a Sony guy. I don't give a damn about power as long as I have 60 frames per second. I don't care if the resolution, like I don't care as long as the resolution is 1440p. I don't care if Xbox runs it at 1800p. I don't give a damn. It doesn't bother me in any way, shape, or form. I don't get why people look at, oh, this dropped one frame here, and all of a sudden, oh my god, the Series X or the PS5 is a lot better. I'm like, you don't care. You're still gonna get the Xbox version. It's not like it's going to change your purchase options.
Yeah, that's true. You know, I mean, and I'm not a frame chaser. It is what it is, bro. Can I just get a good game? That's all I want. You know, I want a good game. I mean, I'm not worried about how many frames and how many strands of grass I can see and all that. I don't care. I don't care. That's fanboy logic. I don't need to see all that.
I can't go back to 30 frames per second. I can't do it. As soon as I experience it,
did you play Destiny? Were you a Destiny player?
No.
Because I was. That was 30 frames out the gate, bro, and I loved it. I didn't have an issue with Destiny.
I haven't played Bloodborne because it's 30 frames per second.
Well, listen, and I got to take that little bit of grain of salt, too. You British guys got this, like, you know what I'm saying, caviar taste, and you guys think everything's, you know, better than everybody. You guys sit on gold toilet seats and stuff. So you guys, you know, you want the finer things in life. You guys call cookies biscuits, for God's sakes.
It's biscuits. Oh, I'm not going there. Biscuits is generic, right? Cookie is a type of biscuit.
Oh my God, we are not doing this now. This dude. Shout out to McCurva. Notice how Starfield was being played in 60 FPS in the recent Starfield update. Another narrative out the window. That's true. Remember everybody was saying Starfield gonna be 30 frames. Even Marlon Gaiman was up here. He had a whole thing. They beat him down. Like Marlon was getting his legs broke. Like matter of fact, we was in there, Ty, and we was in there in Marlon's show. And that dude was capping, bro. Heavy.
Oh, Ricky, Starfield is not 60 FPS at all. It's 30 frames per second.
Okay. I listen to y'all argue about this. Is stupid. I'm going to say this stupid for one reason. Frames don't mean nothing. Maybe resolution. Most non-hardcore gamers don't give a damn about no frames. They care how pretty the game is sometimes.
Games don't mean nothing?
No, I said
well,
to
for
the
certain
casual.
games, low-key, for certain games, it doesn't. For certain games,
I said to the casuals, they don't care about their money. They don't even know. Until I start hanging out with y'all, I didn't know nothing about no dang frames.
Me either.
Until y'all started talking about it. I ain't gonna lie, I just played the game.
Yep,
and then y'all started bringing up frames per second. I'm like, what the hell is that? But then I started noticing.
Digital Foundry, that's when I first started like talking about, listen, even thinking about frames and resolution when I watched Digital Foundry, I had no idea. I'm like, okay. It's like this frame drops, and again, it was another British guy. You British guys killing me here. He was the one talking that stuff.
Yeah, you learn something every day.
Yeah, the British guy. The British guys cause all these problems. They cause all this war. They're holding up the Activision deal. Like, man, I'm sick of y'all. You guys are
It's for British eyes only.
Yeah, you're calling cookies biscuits again. You know, you're calling garages garages. You know, I've had enough. You know, I'm trying to be cool here. I'm trying to be cool. But you guys have your expensive taste in gaming, and you're playing your little polo and you're fencing. You know, I had enough of you rich people. Kill me with it. Oh, it's good.
Ricky, you rich.
Well, wait, but I don't. But okay. First of all, I just have disposable income. That's number one. Number two, the IRS is listening to this show. All right. So now,
Ricky middle class.
Listen, I don't say something like if I want 60 frames, I don't be like, I got to have the 60 frames, or it's just rubbish. That's how those British guys are. They don't like nothing. If it ain't, they want 124K. These guys. That's what these dudes want.
Ricky, I'm sorry, but the moment you experience the difference between 30 and 60, you can't go back to 30.
Oh, man. See, look at this guy. Which brings me to another British guy. Crying Jim Ryan. You know, yeah, this is one of your countrymen here, Legendary. So,
Jim Ryan is British?
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
Well, I thought that dude was from America. I'm with you, Pastor.
Oh, man. Man, did you see the size of that dude's nose?
I never.
That dude ain't from America.
I don't look up nobody's nationality. We all people.
Sometimes you can just tell. I know an African or a Jamaican when I see it. I can tell the difference in different head shapes. I know what it is.
Man, we got. First of all, Ricky, black people got big heads regardless of whatever nationality. You can be from the north side of Indiana. If your head big, I'm sorry.
Listen, anyway, now just for the panel, I have to ask y'all, Levon, Pastor, Loki, Legendary, where the hell did Parker go? Ty, did you guys hear did you hear where did Parker have to go?
You know where he had to go. He can't listen to this.
He's playing Elden Ring. Jesus Christ. So anyway, did y'all hear what Jim Ryan said to Lulu, or Lulu overheard Jim Ryan saying?
Allegedly.
So wait a minute. So you were saying this Christian woman is going out here giving false information? Are we really going to do this? This Christian, minority woman.
You guys to merge or something like that?
Yeah. Here's what he said, and I quote. I don't want a bloody Call of Duty deal. I want to stop your merger. End quote. Now, first of all, he sounds like Legendary. That's number one. Number two, he's from right over there. He went over there. Well, he didn't. He went in Brussels and tried that, and they beat him up. But see, in the UK, they're the guys that are kind of holding things here. Yeah. Lulu is from Mac City. Shout out to Mac. Mac's back in the chat. We back up and running. Hit the like button. Here's the deal. Now, Jim Ryan, now I think that he knows that the deal's going to go through, or the tea leaves are kind of insinuating that the deal's going to go through. Now he can say whatever he wants, and he's not going to be penalized on it. I mean, what are you going to do? It looks like they're going to get the deal. I think what hurt Jim Ryan more than anything is he thought he had two friends with him on that plane ride to Brussels. He thought that he had NVIDIA, and he also thought that he had Google in his pocket to be friends with him to protest the deal. I don't know what happened in the hours before it happened. They moved their seat. They didn't answer his texts, and they just kept their distance from him. And what happened was, my man went up there, and he stood up, and he thought two people were going to be behind him, and it was just him standing all alone.
And backdoored him.
They backdoored him on some Don Corleone stuff. And I think that, for him, now, do I think I think when that happened, that he kind of saw that the writing was on the wall. That, you know what? I really don't have a chance on getting this deal blocked, because the narrative that they were saying was that you were going to keep Call of Duty from them. But now they're offering it to potentially 150 million more users, which is, listen, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to keep it a bean. I'm an Xbox guy, but we all know that number is kind of BS. And I'll tell you why. Here's why the number's BS. The number is BS because they didn't say that was the Switch in that contract. That's number one. They didn't say Nintendo Switch. They did not say Nintendo Switch. That's number one. But however, he used the Switch user base as how many people he was going to get the game to. So that right there is kind of a red flag. They can say, well, wait a minute. You're guaranteed you can work this on the Switch. Now, what Xbox can do or Microsoft can do, they can set up some development team to say they're going to put it on the Switch, but that would have to be a separate version of COD. I don't think it can be, and we all know it's not going to be. You can't even run that in the cloud. You can't have what you call crossplay with a Switch. It's impossible. It's not going to happen.
Get him, Levon. Tell him about the Switch next year.
No, that's not going to happen. We're talking about this Switch right here. We're talking about the Switch right here.
We're talking about the 2017 Switch. Yeah.
But there's no COD this year.
No, it's not.
Okay.
But
hey, wait a minute. But if a new Switch come out, that means they can put it on the
absolutely, and that's what I was thinking. But here's the thing, Ty. There aren't 150 million new Switches out there yet. So he's using the metrics for the old Switch, talking about bringing a game to the new Nintendo platform. That's the only place where I can say, well, you know what? You get yourself in trouble right there.
Now, pause. They use both numbers of the PS4 and PS5 for that, so you have to use the numbers for the Switch.
I'm just saying.
Wait a minute. Because majority of Switch users who can get their hands on the new one will switch over if they can get it. You also have to take those numbers
I think that's fair. I totally get it. I think that's fair. But at the same time, you know, like I said, he saw the writing on the wall. I mean, he's got nowhere else to go. All he has is the CMA. And the problem with the CMA is, did you see what the EU did to the CMA? They backdoored them. The EU went and said, hey, once the EU found out that the CMA was making their decision on the 26th, they moved their decision to the 25th.
As they should.
Because now here's what's going to happen. If the EU goes up here on the 25th and says, hey, we're passing the deal, and here's under the concessions. Now keep remember, although they did have a Brexit and they're not under the same regulatory body anymore, everything's as far as mergers and acquisitions go, they are all on the same point. They all see eye to eye on that. So how is the EU going to approve a deal without divestiture, and then you guys turn around to the CMA, request divestiture? You can do it, but what's going to happen is you're going to get beat up. You're going to get taken to the court system. You're going to get dragged through the mud, and then it's just going to be ugly. They're going to have to play ball. And I think once Jim saw that, Jim's last hope really was the EU. Because here's the good thing about the EU, well, good for Microsoft, is that the EU was the only regulatory body that knew what the hell gaming was all about. They understand that. And that's what the lady was saying up there. She's like, look, I heard from the fans, I heard from this, I heard from that. But the bottom line is, we want to make sure that the customer is taken care of. Michael Pachter himself brought up a good point.
Oh my.
Hey, listen, hold on. I know Legendary hates Michael Pachter. He thinks he did this and that. But here's what Michael Pachter said. This is what he said. No, I'm not, Tommy. I'm just spitting facts. I'm only quoting history here. So anyway, oh man, shout out to Next Gen 720, who's also here in the chat. Z, the godfather of the black podcasters, is in the house. That's what I'm talking about. So here's what Michael Pachter said. Michael Pachter said something very interesting. He said, if they try to block it in the CMA, I got an echo from somebody. He said, if you're trying to block the deal in the CMA, how do you do that when you're saying you're helping out the consumers? So now if you try to uphold the law in the CMA, that means all of the consumers who are not on Game Pass that want to play the game are going to have to pay $70 for it, as opposed to paying $15 a month. That's not consumer friendly. You're making your consumers pay more because you have an agenda out here with Sony. So that's number one, and that makes sense. Another thing that Michael Pachter talked about, he knows a little something about acquisitions. I might not like where he stands, where he claims that the sky is falling, but here's where he made a good point. Did you know that if the deal doesn't go through in the CMA, but it goes through in the EU and the FTC, Microsoft can still run the Activision, Blizzard, and King as separate entities until they sort out their fight with the CMA. Yeah. So in the meantime, while they do that, you can still get COD on Game Pass in the EU and in China and in America, but you wouldn't be able to get it in Europe. Well, in the UK, you wouldn't be able to get it there. You wouldn't be able to do it.
In addition to that, Sony would have lost out that 10-year deal.
Yes. So that's what Pachter was saying. Shout out to the chat. Hit the like button and subscribe. So here's what he's saying. Packers like, look, Sony gonna mess around, and they gonna mess around, and they're not gonna have a deal at all. All right, think about it. If you offer a deal to somebody and they won't take it, are you responsible once the merger goes through to still give them said deal?
You do know the documents came out yesterday that Microsoft retracted the deal from Sony.
I don't think they didn't retract. Here's where Sony got mad, and here's where Sony's capping, or they're being restrained, and they're being like, they didn't want to put out. Here's what happened. Now Microsoft offered them to put the Call of Duty in PlayStation Plus, right?
Yeah,
that's what they offered them. But guess what? Hold on, Legendary. How does Sony make their money? By selling games for $70, not a subscription service.
Yeah, but
so that will hurt them, will it not?
No, it wouldn't.
Well, okay, I'll tell you why it hurts them. In order for COD to go into PS Plus, obviously it's got to go into premium. That would probably cost them about $1 billion.
No, it wouldn't, because Sony makes more money from PS Plus than any other game.
Whoa, easy killer. Sony would have to pay $1 billion. Now, do you want to pay $1 billion, or do you want to get your 70-30 split on selling the game individually?
And that's
think about that.
That's why people like, based on your point about Sony having to pay $1 billion for COD to be in Plus. This is why people do not read documents, because what you said is factual. People just think Microsoft just gave Sony the ability to just put COD on PlayStation Plus.
They gave them the rights to it, licensing rights. See, a lot of people overlook that, Legendary. They're looking over the fact that they said licensing rights. They have licensing rights to put it in PS Plus. They do, but it's not free. It's not free, Legendary. It's not free.
People assume it's free. That's the problem. People assume that Microsoft is offering Sony 10 years. You can put this on Plus like it's free. I'm like, no,
it's gonna cost you money.
They want Sony to pay $1 billion.
Yeah, you're gonna have. You know why you got to pay $1 billion? And here's why. Listen, Microsoft, in a sense, is calling Sony out on their BS. They're telling them, look, you can have the game, you can put in your subscription service, knowing damn well to put a game like that in a subscription service is going to cost big money. Microsoft knows, because they got to pay Sony to put MLB The Show inside their subscription service. And what's the first thing they do? The first thing Sony does is when they put MLB The Show in that Game Pass subscription service, Sony asks Microsoft for Game Pass subscriber numbers.
Actually, I know, but
that's the first thing they ask for. But they ask for those subscriber numbers because they want to pay X amount of dollars per subscriber, because that's the potential of downloading the game.
I agree, but I think the cost is a little bit lower. It's a lot lower. Do you know why? Because Microsoft backdoors Sony to the MLB. I think that's the brand, right? That's the brand. That's the sporting brand for baseball, MLB.
Yes, MLB.
I thought for them to have it in Game Pass, so they don't have to go for Sony. MLB just have to make sure Sony.
But Sony gets paid for this though, because it's their developers made the game. They're using an MLB license, so it's published by the MLB. I totally get that. But however, but what I'm telling you, Legendary, is that's how we found out that Game Pass really had 30 million subs. Because Sony had to get the numbers from Microsoft when they put their game on their subscription service. You got to have it. It's no different when a movie, because that's not to go off course here, but that's what Netflix does when they pay comedians. When Netflix pays comedians like Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle, what they do is they go by what their concert numbers would be for buying tickets, and then they pay them the equivalent to that to call it a special to put on their platform. That's how they come up with the math for that. So, since Call of Duty, we all agree here, Call of Duty is the #1 seller on PlayStation. So you would find out what those Call of Duty players are, which is skewed because some guys get banned and all that other stuff, but still, we'll just take it from there. Call of Duty, people that play it, you would have to pay X amount of dollars per those players in order to get that in PS Plus, and that would cost them $1 billion. They don't want to pay $1 billion when they only have $5 billion of cash on hand. Who the hell wants to pay that?
That's why I said, like, when it comes to Microsoft and Sony, the amount of capping that's coming from both sides, I don't even have time I don't have time to even entertain it.
I can't wait for listen. I can't wait for it to be over either. But the whole point of bringing this up on the show today is because my man said he don't want a deal. He's stalling. Like, he is stalling.
Let me just do one thing before, because I have to leave just now, right?
Okay.
Go ahead.
When it comes to what Jim Ryan said, now Lulu gave timestamps as to when he said it, because
that's false. She didn't.
Yes, I saw it on a reporter. Yes, she did.
She just said, all she said was it happened on February 21st. That was it. There was
that is a timestamp, right?
That's not a timestamp.
A moment in time, February 25th, that's a timestamp. Anyway, wait, let me just say this, and you could go off after I leave. Now, if this is proven to be true, where it is Jim Ryan admitted that here, what I don't want a new deal, all I just want is
Tommy, you crazy, bro.
Right? Then all what Jim Ryan said before is a lie, because he said he's doing this for the gamer. He said he's doing this because his players he want the best deal for his player. But to now come and say here what I don't really want all this thing. All I want is for the deal to be blocked. Shows Jim Ryan to be not only a snake, but do you all know what is an anaconda snake? He is a big fat. He's a big fat liar.
Can I ask you a question?
What's
that? Yeah.
Do you think Microsoft and Phil are acquiring Activision because they care about gamers?
When did I say that?
No, because your point.
All of these guys care about is money. But what I'm saying,
they're not buying Activision for they're not buying it for Xbox. So they're buying Activision so they can take all of those subs from World of Warcraft and those mobile guys and put it all and say it's Game Pass subscription. Because now they can go to the shareholders and say, hey, we just grew Game Pass 20 million freaking subs. We're rolling in money. Boom. Now that's how the dollar gonna get his bonus. He's like, look, I grew Game Pass 20 million freaking subs right here.
Correct. But I just wanted to say before I leave that Jim Ryan is a liar and he's a snake. Enjoy the game, guys.
All lies.
And guess what? Enjoy the rest of the podcast.
Hey, thanks for coming through, Pastor. And make sure you get that Wulong. You got to play the Wulong. All of us, that's everybody's homework assignment. Everybody's got to play Wulong. Yeah, we got to play it.
But that first,
shout out to Loki, my man.
That first boss is killing me, man. I got to beat him.
Yeah. No doubt. All right, Pastor. See you next Saturday, brother. You know what we do.
Later.
All right, so before we get up out of here, I did like the topics that we had. We got one more topic. I don't know, Levon might have a tech topic, but I don't know where the hell Parker went. But anyway, hey, to put an end to this whole ABK debacle and Jim Ryan, I just can't. Now we all know what his tactic was the whole time. He never wanted a deal. That dude never wanted a deal. That dude just wanted to stall. He wanted to stall as much as he could to that, June, July of 2023. That's what he wanted to do. And he almost got away with it if it wasn't for those meddling kids. He almost did. He almost did.
Obviously, like everyone already knows that. Like Jim Ryan just wants to block this deal.
Yeah.
We all knew that from the beginning.
Yeah. I didn't know. I knew that, but to hear him say it, that's big balls, though.
Well, we didn't hear him say it. But yeah, like that's been his whole angle from the beginning. Ever since this deal was announced, Jim Ryan has been trying to block this deal. Nothing new.
Wow. But hey,
look, I just want a new Crash Bandicoot at this point.
Hey, Levon loves his platformers.
I'm just like the only thing that kind of confuses me is the whole concept of, oh my god, this is for the gamers. I'm like, Microsoft, you're capping. Like you're capping so hard right now. Like just stop. Like it's not for the gamers. It's for money. No one spends that amount of money and they don't want to see any sort of profit back or any sort of money back.
Yeah.
It's all for money. Like, just don't try to just cap and go, oh my god, we are this small in the gaming market. I'm like, oh my goodness, just stop, please. You own Minecraft, one of the biggest games in the world. You own Bethesda, one of the biggest publishers in the world.
And now they're gonna own freaking Activision, which is one of the biggest games. Yeah.
Are you telling me you're this small in the game? Oh.
Well, to be fair, you can't really say, like, my kids can't go to school saying they have my money. You see what I'm saying? Now,
Yeah, but
they know if they need something, they can get it from me. But the fact that they know, hey, I got, my dad can get me this. I know he can get it, so they go around saying, hey, get me this, get me. It's no different than the Xbox division saying, buy this, mom, buy this, dad, buy me. So that's kind of how it is.
But as long.
But a lot of people don't want to. But you have to separate the two. They're under the Microsoft parent company. Like a lot of people, when they wanted MTV shut down for Beavis and Butthead, they were sending all of that stuff over to Paramount and stuff. Like, hey, look, Paramount's like, look, we're the parent company. Don't jump on us. That's the MTV division with Beavis and Butthead. Leave us alone.
I know, but I did the same thing with Sony. Sony owns Bungie. I'm like, that's the PlayStation.
It's Sony. Sony's not in the predicament they were because technology has changed. The best camera in the world is on a phone now. It's not on an actual camera. They let Samsung and LG run wild on a TV spot. So a lot of things that Sony used to do well, they don't do very well anymore. But the one thing they still continually to do well is create video game hardware and sell video games, period. That's what they do well. However, there's a new sheriff in town. It's called subscription services. And subscription services are
they started that too. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah, but they didn't finish it. That's what subscription services are the way of the future. Whether we like it, I might not like it. Loki might not like it. Legendary, you might not like it. Levon might like it. Ty might not like it. But it's the way. Look. I didn't want freaking renting Blockbuster DVDs, Family Night every Friday, not to end, but it did. It's over. We just go in and press the joint Xfinity and say whatever movie it is, we're rented that way.
But the one thing I hate is when customers do not take any sort of accountability. So, like, we have the whole notion that, like, if you go on YouTube, like, oh my God, open world games are trash now. I'm like, oh, like shooters are trash. I'm like, you guys buy shooters every single year. The same Call of Duty you guys buy every single year. Or you complain about it.
If you stop voting with your wallet, everybody plays Battle Royale in Fortnite. That has one of the big. So now every shooting game's got to have a Battle Royale in it now. That's kind of what it is. Like, I mean, listen. To me, one of the best original games, at least for me on console, that I've played in the last 10 years was Destiny. Destiny was kind of original to me. It was an MMO shooter on a console. I had never played that before. And that gave me something new with raids and all of that stuff. Now, I did have raids and stuff in the DC universe that was on PlayStation 3, where you created your own character and, you went and you chose to be like a Superman type person or a Batman type person. And that was an MMO as far as superheroes. But that wasn't quite as fun as Destiny was, with raids, getting weapons, loots, and stuff like that. And that was cool. So to me, the most impactful game in the last 10 years to me is Destiny. Or if you want to say visually, which good games are great. Now, even though they're remakes, those Resident Evil type remakes, I think those games are beautiful. They look so much better. I think they revitalized the Resident Evil franchise by making those remakes. I think that was a good choice for them, is to change to update the shit, make it good. And I think that was a big help with the Resident Evils, making those remakes. I mean, the remake 2 was good. But they didn't remake 1 yet. They only remade 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, I think remake 1 is probably coming.
Yeah, they didn't do 1. Now that is going to be a hell. That Resident Evil 1 changed everything as far as survival horror gaming. I was still in high school when that came out.
Wouldn't that be their second remake of 1?
Because Nintendo GameCube had one.
Yeah.
They had that was the best looking one, and that's the version that's on the Xbox store and stuff, and the PlayStation.
Xbox One, PS4.
Yeah, that's the one that's on there. But that Resident Evil for the PlayStation, when that zombie was eating that person on the floor, man, that was as big as Marcus with the chainsaw. Those are big moments in gaming that we haven't had one of those in a while. Maybe God of War 2018, they gave you a moment seeing how Kratos was recreated. He had a beard now, bald or whatever, and he had the he did have the axe now, and that was cool. That was something. And then you had what else did you have here in gaming that was kind of a big thing? I mean, you had Last of Us. I think Uncharted actually. Uncharted was like a big thing. That was one of the first really. I don't want to say the first really heavy cinematic games because we all got that from that damn what's the name, Metal Gear, where the damn cinematic scenes was like 4 hours or so. So you mean, listen, there's certain things in there. Oh, what's up, Daniel? So we it's just certain things in gaming that you just remember where you were. Like I remember where I was at. I was in a movie theater when I saw the Gears of War trailer. Like I was like, oh shit, this game looks banging. I remember where I was when I saw The Last of Us. Well, it's funny because The Last of Us came out. That's when the Bray Wyatt character came out in WWE. So I like, oh man, I remember that weird spooky stuff. So I don't know. I guess we're all just looking for the next like big thing. And I mean, I think it's going to be a while before we get that because what we've been getting lately is a lot of remakes and remasters. You're not getting a whole lot of original stuff. And even Starfield. Starfield's a very highly anticipated game, but what is Starfield? They called it Skyrim in space. So it's already influenced by something else. So I don't know when we're going to get, something from the ground up that makes people say, oh man, wow, that was dope. This is something that goes in
Hellblade.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
Hellblade.
Hopefully it's something. I mean,
Hellblade is following the same cinematic concept, which for me, I know the game is going to be good, but it's not going to be anything like genre defining or anything.
Well, you know that somebody, and that's what
he said look good. He didn't say genre defining.
No, but here's what some people are saying. And a lot of people could blow smoke up. You know what? They were saying that Hellblade's combat is going to be like similar to God of War 2018.
No, Charles.
That's what they were saying. Now, here's where that you can achieve that if you do what God of War 2018 did, which is what only keep 4 to 5 enemies on the screen at one time. That's how you make things look well.
They are pushing so much fidelity on that screen.
But you can do, I'm not. Listen, Legendary. I'm not trying to say they're not. All I'm telling you is God of War looks as good as it does because there's only 4 or 5 people on the screen at once. Let's not forget about that.
Yeah, but Hellblade is even pushing even more. Like the graphics are insane for Hellblade, and I'm telling you,
but they're using, and a lot of that's because they're using that real photorealistic stuff.
With Nano.
It's not drawn. They don't draw those characters. Don't draw. They're rendered with a freaking.
I think it's Pixel Megascan.
Yeah, something like that. So, that's what it is. That's why it looks as good as it does.
Unreal Engine 5 takes up so many processing power. I'm guaranteeing you now, Hellblade's combat is going to be so limited.
Facts, Iron Mike. Sorry to cut you off, Legendary. Yeah, that's what they're saying. They're saying like, yo, they hired like a bunch of stuntmen, and I saw them with the bubble suits on, swinging stuff.
The first one. They did the same thing for the first one.
Yeah, but that wasn't really combat. That was
was
looking at puzzles and stuff and putting triangles together. That was a little different.
They didn't have the funding behind that game. You can't just make it seem like that.
No doubt.
They didn't have the funding, bro. You can't just say that's the same thing when it's not.
Ty. I agree, Ty. 100%. Yes, they didn't. They didn't have the funding on that. They did not.
It was 10 million, 5 million. It was 10 or 5, something like that. They didn't have no. But I'm just saying that I hear what you're saying, but you can't say it's gonna be the same when they actually have money to help them.
I said that. I said it's going to be hard for them to have a combat like God of War. The reason why is they're pushing so much.
Yeah, that's not happening. I don't even know. It's not.
Yeah, they push so much fidelity on the screen. It's insane.
It could be good, but it's not.
It's like, do you remember what was the game? What's the game on PS4 that did the exact same thing? That shooter game. The Order 1886. Like at that point of time, the Order's graphics were insane, and I was like. But the gameplay, I was like, that was a trade-off. That had to be the trade-off. It's just like Hellblade's like I don't know why people downplay it. Hellblade looks insane. Like it looks very good. And I'm just saying, as of right now, I need to see more for me to judge the combat. Do you know what? I shouldn't jump the gun, but I just know that when it comes to graphic fidelity and gameplay, you have to have a balance. When something is way too high, just know that something else is going to suffer.
Very true. Very true. Very true. Well, folks, I'm glad y'all came through. We will end the show on that note. We will see y'all back here on Saturday. Hit the like button, subscribe. We we gonna have some interesting topics next week because I had a few things we left out because Parker went out. We had a power issue, and we'll figure that all out. The generator came back on, so we were straight. So I thank everybody that came through. Legendary, hopefully you'll be back next week. Loki.
Yeah, next week.
I've given everybody a homework assignment. Play the Wulong, will you please? I know a lot of us have Game Pass in here. Pay $1 for it like you guys claim you can do. Play the game so we can give a decent review on this thing.
I'm getting on PS5.
So Loki's playing now. My man.
I'm paying for it. I'm getting on PS5.
Oh, Jesus.
Next week, I don't know if I'll be here. It'll be my birthday weekend.
Oh, man. Happy birthday to you,
I'm
bro.
definitely going to be in the chat.
Okay.
You know.
All right. All right. Hey, look, everybody's got vacation time. So, hey, that's what happens.
I got spring break this next week.
You are not going anywhere. I expect to see you here Saturday.
Yeah.
So, all right, fellas, chat. Thank you very much for interacting.